Being born with Saturn and Gemini presents many challenges. And let me tell you something. I have a lot of compassion for these challenges, for these shadows, for these setbacks. The shadows involve struggling to communicate, struggling to find the words, struggling to find your voice, to be able to find the right way of getting information out, to be able to learn what you want to learn without anyone holding you back, without anyone inhibiting you, and to be able to then focus on one thing while focusing on other things and being open to all perspectives and sides of the story. These are just some of the lessons and the difficulties that people with Saturn and Gemini have to work through in this life, because Saturn is requiring work. It requires that you put in the discipline, in the time, and the effort, and the energy to make it work. To really put their best foot forward and make it work in a very, very effective, sort of, detailed way. A sort of comprehensive and holistic way. That's part of them, is becoming holistic. So let us talk about Saturn and Gemini in this episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast. This is the third edition to the Saturn series, actually the fourth video, because the first one was about the planet Saturn. Now, eventually I'm going to come back and do the sun through the signs and the moon through the signs, and do a couple of the Jupiter placements, because I want to make all these videos podcasts. I don't want them to be really in any other format, because I want to make as many episodes in this podcast as I can. So right now we're talking about Saturn, but I will be going back and doing the signs over in different ways, and then I'll do some outer planet signs like the Uranus signs, the Neptune signs, all those kind of things. It's very, very fascinating to delve into. So now let's get into Uranus in Gemini. Very, very precisely. What are we getting ourselves into here? So, the waters that we're really delving into involve, first of all, there is this need here to be intellectual. There's this really, really strong need to be in the mind, in the intellect, to be something of a scholar, something of a studier, someone who studies all the walks of life, really efficiently, really well. So they are very much in the mind about their, feeling, about their facts, about the intellect over the emotions. And this life necessarily isn't about mastering the feeling realm. It's about mastering the intellectual realm. So, that is what they're here to step and develop into. And, before I go on, I just want to say that the video for tomorrow's video will be on the later side tomorrow. That's what I'm planning, because I want to feel secure, because right now I am at another place doing this video, and I'll be going back tomorrow. So it will, it will be later in the day. Yeah. So that is going to be what that will be. Wait a second. Well, it'll actually be in the morning. I think I'll be able to do it in the morning, and then I'll not have to worry about it when I get back. So that's actually the little thing I want to insert, just to be clear, because if I am to go on, then I have to address that, because otherwise it's all a waste of my breath. Insecurity is not a fun emotion to have when doing podcast episodes. It ruins it. All right, so let's talk about Saturn and Gemini more in depth. So growing up as a child, let's just break this down. Let's just talk about this very, very clearly. Growing up, you may have had difficulty with speaking up. You may have been silenced. You may have been told that you have no value and your voice is meaningless and there's no point for you to even say what you're thinking. There's no point for you to share your opinions or share your ideas. There's no point. Because it's a waste of your breath. It's a waste of your energy. And the best thing you can do is metaphorically put tape over your mouth and not speak. Be quiet. Hold it in. Not share what you're thinking. Not share what you think. What you know, the knowledge that you want to share, the ideas that you want to share. And with this, there is difficulty learning. There's a lot of difficulty when it comes to learning all these different kinds of things with this very, very efficiently. So, struggles learning, maybe having speech impediments, maybe struggling in school academically in certain subjects, maybe not grasping things quick enough. These could be possibilities. This placement suggests somebody who really has a lot of self-doubt. And what is self-doubt? This because there's some things I want to discuss with self-doubt. It is just not being certain and not being aware, like, oh, you can step into your potential. And it also is about having low self-worth. And there is this questioning of yourself. Does my mind work? Am I thinking clearly? Am I rational? Do I have the capability to think in intelligent, acceptable, socially acceptable, and adequate ways? Feeling inadequate is what this can come down to. So, it's also low self-esteem. And it's all about working through the self-doubt. Getting over these fears. And Saturn asked you to get over fears. It is a taskmaster planet that asks you to face fears. Very, very strong fears indeed. So, with this, so there is, a lot of struggle with finding the right path. Finding the right path. Which path is the best path that serves you in the truest way. In the truest and best way. What is that path that really makes sense for you? So which path is the right path for you? That's okay. I'm getting distracted right now, so sorry if I'm not speaking clearly, because I'm hearing a lot of talking outside, so it's taking away from my thought process. Moving on. You grew up in an environment, or you could have grown up in an environment where your ideas could have been ignored or rejected. That could have been a huge part of your life. Is where, all these ideas were just, put aside. Put aside completely. So instead of embracing and accepting these ideas, people just put it down. It's meaningless. It's worthless. It bears no weight. It bears no substance. So you probably were not allowed the freedom to learn what you wanted to learn, to satiate your curiosity. Gemini is a sign which talks about freedom to learn new things and the freedom to learn whatever you want to learn. And so this can be very, very big when it comes to being very curious and not being able to satisfy all that curiosity, not being able to, attend to that, well enough. So they could have been what I like to call in with somebody, meaning that you're connected to somebody that you just reject and you don't like, and they're against your values, and, they're not kind or your kind of person. You're in with them. You're in with probably an institution that was very, very limited in their education. So there could have been a very, very limiting institution that had, specific rules, specific guidelines. You have to follow these rules. You have to, learn these subjects, go to these classes, do these things, follow this inflexible structure, follow this sort of rigidity of, all these subjects which demand a lot of you to learn. And so this particular educational system could have been really, really strict. Very, very strict educational system that you have a lot of karma with. Saturn is karma. It's unprocessed karma from the past. In the past, what you do and your actions have consequences to them. Where you find that curiosity wasn't allowed. You weren't allowed to be a curious, open individual, to learn new things, to explore what you wanted to explore. Curiosity, we were shut out from curiosity. You can't learn what you want to learn. You can't ask questions. You can't dig deeper into things. You can't look further into things. It's dangerous to ask questions. It's dangerous to have any thought outside of the thoughts that you're expected to have and the thoughts that you are supposed to have and what the authority figures in your life wanted you to think. So that's the message that you really deeply internalize in your life. You may be perceived as dumb, very, very dumb, unintelligent, not being able to, there's an ignorant quality that others put you in the category of being ignorant, not being able to communicate in an effective way, and in a way that where you're really, really communicating well, communicating fluently and eloquently. You're probably not allowed to discuss or inquire into certain topics. Certain topics were just taboo. You couldn't study, ancient history if, the family was, if the school was studying, American history or, whatever. What about reading? Oh my gosh, wow, I feel for you with this. I feel for you a lot with this because I have a stellium in Gemini. I feel for you, Saturn in Gemini. I am very, very resistant to schools, and it's up to a certain point, there's a tipping point in school. You learn to read and you get enough appreciation out of books of understanding basic books. It's like now when you develop a mind that can think, and and the interest and the curiosity to read what you want to learn, and the different interests here, the different passions there, when it comes to reading, you should read what you want to read in a school. You shouldn't have to be forced into reading certain novels that you were supposed to read. I mean, yes, you appreciate those novels, but those are a drop in the bucket compared to other novels. And just being forced into one book, oh my gosh. You don't really gain a whole lot from that experience. It's like I'm resistant against schools because a lot of the stuff you learn in school you don't remember and you don't use in your life. So schools have to be like, if you're spending 8 hours a day in a learning factory, then you might as well work efficiently and learn necessary skills for life, especially when it comes to like intellectual skills. That's part of it. And I mean, maybe there's benefit in that, reading, classic books by authors, but are you going to really sit down and read a classic book in your life? I mean, maybe you may, nobody just sits down and read Shakespeare or something, but, yeah, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that a lot of the books you read, they don't stick with you. Maybe they do, but that could be said for any experience in life. And to go to college is to go to classes which you are taking from your own autonomy, expanding your own mind. So there's a difference here. And then, oh yes, it makes sense to, read classic books and read all these books here because you made the choice to get into this class to then say you're going to do the work, and it's really serious about that. But not being allowed to read the books you wanted to. I'm being told you have to read these certain books and do all these kind of things. So, now this is similar to having Lilith and Gemini or Chiron in the third house. So, their ideas could have been, your ideas could have been useless. Or unsafe. Maybe you didn't feel the safety to just share your ideas, express your ideas, share your knowledge. Find your voice. That's going to be really, really huge. We're staying strong, and I want to, I think there's something to be said about staying strong intellectually, staying strong within yourself, to not break when others judge you for simply speaking your mind, staying strong and being very, very willing and assertive, and you know what? I am going to communicate what I want to, darn it. I have the right to speak my mind. I have a right to share my voice, and darn it, I'm going to do it, and you're going to hear it. So I have the right to do this. I'm human too. I am just equal to, I am equal to everybody else who has a mind and a voice and can speak. Like, I think the song that comes in here, just like Lilith and Gemini, is Where Is It, written by Barbra Streisand. Like, the song simply says, like, why have a mind if you don't question things, if you don't want to learn about things, if you don't want to explore things? Where is it written that you can't explore what you want to explore, that you can't learn what you want to learn about, that you can't go deeply into what you want to go deeply about? So I think that you will deeply resonate with that song and others like it. So, there could be this really, really strong anxiety about your intellectual abilities. These kind of things could come into very, very important play here, where you're afraid of saying something and it not making sense, saying something and others just not getting it. Well, you explain something, you explain how a math problem works, and the other person won't understand it. You explain I don't know, something about the Buddha, and nobody understands it. So you have a deep fear of speaking something and not being understood. And you become so obsessive and very, you tend to be just very, very caught in the weeds when it comes to writing something over and over again, like a message, like a written message, or saying something over and over again with a perfectionistic motive, like trying to say it correctly, like, and worrying that the person's going to misunderstand it, that the person's not going to get it. Like, this is a severe thing that you rattle with, or excuse me, that you battle with. There's a grapple with, I guess it's the word I'm trying to use, that they have going on within you, that you're working through. That's a struggle for you. The need to be revealed. There's a fear of being revealed as uneducated or disoriented when it comes to your communication. And there's a wound here. A deep wound. And the wound deals with not being free. Gemini wants freedom. Both Gemini and Sagittarius both want freedom. Gemini wants the freedom to learn whatever it wants to learn about and ask questions and have conversations and like Gemini in this life needs the freedom to learn what they want to learn about and how they want to learn it. Now, Saturn in Gemini, the lower Gemini is getting scattered and, all over, but I'm talking about looking at, and this kind of enlightened me a little bit, like looking at the high road of Gemini here later in this video, which I'm going to get there, but there's this wound of not being able to learn what you want to. Being taught, stay in your lane. Stay in this one thing. Do this one thing. You can't do anything else. Focus on this one thing. You're not allowed to be outside of it. You're not, stay in this one place. You're not allowed to go, outside the cage. You're not allowed to color outside the lines. You're not allowed to change what you commit to. What you commit to is what you have to stick with come hell or high water. And that simply isn't true. It's a very, like I'm telling you, that is so limiting. So limiting. Very, very limiting to get into that mindset that you have to stick with one thing. No. That destroys curiosity. That destroys joy of learning. That destroys, don't cut off all these other interests that you have. And allow yourself to explore these other interests. Like, for example, when I got out of the hospital and when I started reading again, I made it very, very clear to myself, I am not going to put myself to the grindstone and commit and read and, cut all these other passions and interests off. Because when I did that in the past, when I only was so obsessed with reading in 2018 and when I was reading so much, a lot, and sticking to it and forcing myself to do that times and cutting off anything else and denying my other interests, saying that anything else was a waste of time. Like the belief that everything else is a waste of time when it simply isn't. Like, don't deny or repress the other interests that you have, or the real interests that you have. Don't suppress your interests. That's what I'm saying to you with compassion. Is, I'm saying, like that I am going to, when I feel in the mood to read, and I'm gonna, stick with it, until I just, lose interest, until it just seems like I'm going through the motions, until I want to focus on something else. I'm just going to do something else and then come back to it later. Like, this this belief that you have to stick to this thing, and just, rigidly and, one-sidedly. It's just, no, let go of that. So, you're probably indoctrinated and conditioned into a lot of things. And this could involve learning certain subjects. Or told that it was, get this, you were probably told in your life, I'm just gonna, I don't want to make this assumption about you, but but Saturn and Gemini lesson, I want to have the freedom to speak my own voice with this and share my creative energy. So I'm just gonna say, and you may not resonate with it. You may not resonate with the things I say in this video, and that is okay, because the whole world is not going to resonate with this. So I may say some things and you're like, that's not true about me. Okay, that's fine. But I am I am sharing what I know and sharing my energy and not, censoring or, holding myself back with that. So I'm just going to accept that there will be a lot who will resonate and then some that will not. And that's just the reality. So, because the world is not made up of one person. It's made up of a bunch of people who are entirely different from each other. So, you were told that it was selfish to go beyond certain intellectual boundaries. That you can only read this source and you can't go any deeper. That you can only read this chapter in a book, but you can't go on to other chapters. That you can only read this book and you can't read that book. That you can't ask these big philosophical questions and get these answers because it's dangerous or it's bad or it's wrong. Minimizing these things and making these things bad and wrong. Others in your life is it giving you the message and you deem these things to be bad and wrong when they're not. So, with this placement, there could be difficulty in engaging in meaningful conversations. I'm not talking about small talk. I'm not talking about those conversations that you have which are very, very superficial. I'm talking about meaningful conversations. That's what, I define Gemini to be, as meaningful, intellectual conversations. So, difficulty with that. It's difficult for you to make intellectual connections with others. You find that very, very challenging for you in your life. And you may have difficulty forming relationships with others intellectually. Because you're afraid that, speaking your voice, afraid that they'll reject you, afraid that, others won't understand you. So, you may struggle to speak up in conversations. That may be another really, really huge thing. Speaking up is a really, really huge skill and, confidence builder to work on is, speaking up. Okay. So speaking up is one thing. And then, it's like you're in a group of people and everybody else shares their opinion, everybody else shares their, their belief and their idea and their proposal, and then you feel this anxiety and insecurity and you just don't say anything. You silence yourself. You keep all your ideas locked inside the confines of your mind. So your voice gets drowned out by the thunder. I mean, that's what you feel. That's not the fact, but that's what you feel like it will get drowned out by the thunder. So, your voice, maybe others have a difficulty with your voice. Maybe others find it intolerable to listen to you speak, or there's just something about your voice that others, reject or something. Not that it has any problem with you, because I don't want to, insult you or put you down in any of these videos. I don't do that to any of the signs. Any astrology video who does that, I greatly disapprove. Greatly. Because that is not a seasoned astrological understanding, and that is not a compassionate, understanding of, the signs. Is very, very egoic. Because I think that if you're connected to your soul, you wouldn't be so harsh. Or or your ideas weren't accepted. Maybe in your early life, when you spoke up and had an idea, others just dismissed it. Others didn't. Others weren't open to it. You may avoid writing, and you really may hold yourself back from sharing all of your knowledge and all of your ideas. Holding yourself back from this. You may avoid taking advantage of opportunities to speak and communicate, write. One of the things is making videos and posting them out there, because there will be people out in the world who will respect you and who will be open to what you have to say, like on these videos, how I am speaking and sharing my knowledge of the things that I am interested in. Doing this, I am sort of, as somebody who has a Lilith in Gemini, Chiron in the first house of self-identity, and Mars in Gemini, and a lot of planets in Gemini. I am speaking, my mind and sharing, my knowledge and those kind of things. So, if I am doing it, then why can't you? If others are doing it, why can't you? It's like you are worthy of speaking your mind, speaking your truth. You're worthy of sharing what you want to share. So, you may hold yourself back from sharing your knowledge and ideas. Because you feel like if you share ideas, then others are just going to fire back at you, and it's going to backfire, and others are just going to attack you back for you just sharing your idea. So you're afraid of getting threatened and getting hurt and getting offended, others being mean to you if you share that idea. Like, it's a deep fear for you. Avoiding taking advantage of opportunities. Because you struggle. Because it's hard for you to be strong in your intellectual expression. Very, very difficult. Hard for you to be strong in expressing your mind. Now, this could go one of two ways. I want you to hear this. Either you are so scattered all over the place, many, many ideas, many interests, you're exploring and all these things, you're very, very disorganized, you're, the classic, low road Gemini, or maybe, I hate to say this, and let me just, be sure of this. Okay. So, you may study many things, and you may, at once. And, here's the thing with that. I want you to hear both sides of this. I want you to hear both sides of what I have to say here. So, studying a lot of things at once and not becoming super knowledgeable about those things is a low word of Gemini. You can't expect to study all these things and become an expert in any one of them. Well, you don't want to become a jack of all trades but a master of none. Or at the other extreme, at the complete other end of the spectrum, you may fixate on one subject so intensely that you cut out anything else, everything else, and you're just on this one path, blocking out everything else, putting the blinders on, because you feel like you are inadequate if you were to study, and you would not be so intelligent if you were to study a bunch of other subjects. So whatever side of the spectrum that you fall on, this is something that you are working through in this life. And it's going to take time. But if you are willing to put in the work, if you're willing to work through these struggles, you're going to find that you're going to climb up that mountain and feel so accomplished. Like, wow, I mastered these challenges. I persevered. I took my challenges and turned them into strengths. I took my kryptonite and turned it into my superpower. Like, so, yeah. So that is something to work on. And then the important thing for Gemini is to know what their values are. This is big. They can be just open to anything and everything. Like, yes, be free and be curious, but also look at your other side of Sagittarius, who has some strong beliefs, who has some strong ideals, some strong passions, knows which direction that they want to go in. So having strong values with subjects that they, enjoy, and having, and what you find passionate about. It's both and, where you are valuing subjects that you enjoy, that okay, I enjoy this thing more than others. It's okay to enjoy something more than anything else, more than other things. Like having this one subject that you're very, very interested in all this. But then also making peace with the need to explore many other subjects. It's both and, where you are exploring the subject over there, and then that subject over there, and you are feeling at peace with yourself with that. So it's both and. Can you be committed to one thing while also allowing yourself to enjoy and be interested in other things? Not cutting off all these other interests. Like, this is a lesson that I am learning in my life. So I am with you on this, on these lessons very, very strongly. Because I have struggled with, like, I'm going to tell you, I had a speech impediment. Instead of saying short, I said shote. Instead of saying stirred, I would have said stowed. Right instead of right. My R's were very, very bad, so I had speech impediment, and I struggle with social skills and connecting intellectually, and in group settings I struggled to share my ideas because I worry that they would be rejected, and not only that, but just but now I'm really stepping into my Gemini energy of communicating, not being afraid to communicate publicly. Like, wow, an opportunity for communicate freely to others out there, putting myself out there in my own way, in my own authentic way. Wow, amazing, wonderful, beautiful. So things like study. So I'm going to go off a list of things that you could work on in this life. Study skills, taking notes, organizing information. These are all things, that you could easily, that I came across through reading. Now, Gemini is the data collector. It collects all this information. It gathers information through all this experience. And it's into the little details. and forming strong arguments. Where you're actually researching and digging into okay, this is big. Not just asking questions and talking for the sake of talking, but actually asking questions for the sake of learning into them. Learning about them, leaning into them, and learning those things. Gathering that information through that question and coming to a certain conclusion based off the information that you come to. Like, that's what research is. And so I'm going to tell you right now, and this is the honest truth, it is going to take a lot of practice. Real communication will take practice. It's not going to be a perfect overnight thing. It's not going to be something that you're going to be easily good at. And it's not going to come so naturally to you. It is going to take time, and it's about being willing to do that work, being willing to put in that work to communicate confidently, to communicate, to be able to communicate your thoughts in a way which is intellectually, articulate, and all these kind of things, and being able to communicate in a way that is true for you, in a way where you are translating all these thoughts into words, and others are understanding it. So, that is going to take time and practice, but it is about willing to put in the work for it. Like, Saturn says challenges, but Saturn gives you kind of an opportunity Saturn doesn't hand it to you on a platter. Like, with Saturn, it is going to take work, and Saturn gives you kind of a gift in disguise, where it just shows you, like, here are your challenges, and what are you going to do with it? Like it challenges you. Saturn challenges you. Like, it gives you challenges so that you can be strong, so that you can grow, so that you can become wise, so that you can struggle. And through that struggle, you will find meaning. You will find purpose through that struggle. And so that is what Saturn gives you. And it takes work to do this. It takes you doing the work, putting in the work, and through that you gain a sense of empowerment. You gain a sense of confidence the more you do it. You become better at it. So, you see where I'm coming from with this. And this sounds so easy to say intellectually, but the work is, work is work. And, there's only so many ways you can say it, and it's, it is for a reason. So, all right. So, it's a skill to develop. It isn't, it's not, communication isn't just a simple, easy thing, for you. And it's about, like, making peace with that and accepting that it's not going to be easy for you to communicate. But it is, it is something that you can work on, and hopefully something that you feel driven and motivated to work on. And it's okay to struggle with it. It's okay to struggle with this, like having difficulty with this. It's okay. It's part of the process of you learning, of you, growing and becoming more evolved person. Expressing your ideas, thoughts clearly through practice, and it's okay to have miscommunications, because you will run into miscommunications. Where everybody does, really. And, you're not alone in having miscommunications. So don't think that you're alone in this. You get, and, you watching this, there are other Saturn and Gemini people who may struggle with similar, issues. And so you're not alone in that. You're never alone in what you're going through and what you're experiencing. And so that's the sort of goblet of compassion that I am handing to you. So you can get messages across in a way that is clear and direct. Communicating these messages, it's like you can do this. Like you can communicate in this kind of way. And your voice has value, even when you don't clearly express what you want to express. Like know this, your voice has value. Your words have value. So then, you know, it's about learning creating a structure for yourself. You know, creating a structure for learning that doesn't cut away curiosity. That doesn't just strip away, your curiosity. Creating a structure that actually encourages your curiosity by focusing on certain subjects and allowing for spontaneity and allowing for your mind to explore whatever you want to explore at the same time. So, preferably learning routine that involves the necessary subjects, reading, writing, and all this stuff. And then allowing yourself time to do what you really want to just learn about, regardless of any standard, regardless of any structured learning. Just, find way, and I'm going to offer this up to you. And, you're probably past this point, so it's probably pointless to say this. But I'm going to say it anyway, because this is coming up. Like, if you're still in school, then maybe creating a homeschool routine where you can, learn these necessary subjects that you need to learn, and also learn about what you want to learn, read independently. Read what you want to read about, read the stories and books and subjects that you want to read about. So, learning the essential skills and then reading the books and, whatever that build off of or are based on these skills. Like, you learn the skills first and then you explore what you want to explore. Well, like, in order to read, what you want to, you have to learn to read first. You can't just walk unless you are taught to walk. So, that is very, very important. You can't expect to, run unless you learn to walk first. So, this kind of thing. So, and then having, mental flexibility, mental, adaptability in what you're learning about, being open-minded, and, learning different subjects as opposed to just being fixated on one thing. So this is about taking difficult subjects and making them easy for others to understand. This is what this is also about, is translating all these difficult things into easy to understand things. Very, very important. So you take all of what is complicated and teach others, and then they get it better. They understand it better because of how you explain it. Like, that's the real potential that you have in this lifetime to step into. So this is about speaking with clarity and with the desire, okay, this is big. Being clear in your communication and the speaking for just the sake of the listener to understand what you're saying, the listener to take something out of it, the listener to, interpret it in a way which, where they are understanding where you're coming from, they're getting value from what you said, as opposed to, oh, I'm so impressive with how well and how clever I can communicate, and being, in your ego, and look at me, how intelligent I am, comes from a place of trying to prove yourself. Because you're trying to shut down and trying to deny, you're trying to rise above instead of facing and integrating the wounds that you may have around communication, not being allowed to speak your mind. Instead, you speak out of just wanting to, be better, and this very, very competitive thing, egoic thing, instead of, speaking from a soul-centered place, which is really, what we want to do. So, and this may not be easy for you. This may take some work. So just know that. And then learning intellectual skills is very important in order to differentiate between knowledge and wisdom. Wisdom, as opposed to knowledge. Knowledge is just information and facts, but wisdom is deep understanding, deep reflection, your experiences, and all the knowledge that you gather, and then you come to certain conclusions based off of that knowledge and experience. Like knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. It's a formula. Having humility, being open to any ideas, not thinking that your ideas are better than any other ideas, not being arrogant in your ideas, of knowing the limitations of your own mind, not thinking that you're infinite, but also not thinking that your mind is superior to others. And with this humility comes open-mindedness and exploration and curiosity. So this is really about integrating information and providing ways, showing others the way to make sense of their knowledge and experiences. That's what you're here to do. You can guide others through their fears and anxieties over communicating, through their own, of what they have to work through with that. And it's about having discipline and having patience to step into your intellectual potential. Anyone can communicate well and be intellectual. Anyone. Don't think it's just to the select few who just are worthy of it or have the skill, and others just are not built for it. Others are just not made of the stuff to do it. Don't have the strong enough stuff to do it. That's just not true. Anyone can do it. It may take more practice, for some than others, but everybody can do it if you just put in the work and you practice. So it all depends on your work and how your individual mind functions and everything like that. And so, and your learning style and all of that. So, and you can teach that to others. You can teach how to communicate, through your own, healing and through your own working on yourself. So Saturn and Chiron are really, really similar things. Knowing that there is not just one idea. There are many different ideas in the world. There are many facets of different things. There are many, many different perspectives. And when you can be open to all these different perspectives, look at things from all different angles. So be aware of the tendency to become inflexible in your thinking, where you put down others. Just, there's no one way to learn. There's no one way to learn. Like allowing for everyone to learn at their own pace, everyone to learn in their own way, everyone to learn on their own terms, as you learn on your own terms. So don't force others to learn the way that you learn, because everybody will be different. And so, that's the truth of it. So another shadow side, with this is not being superior to others. And having curiosity and seeing the value in different perspectives. So this is about being open-minded here. Being open-minded, being open to new information. Also, not becoming defensive in conversation. Instead of just fighting back because you were threatened, rather than, having an argument with the person, just talk to them. Have a conversation with them. And just say, this is what I think and this is what I believe, and be willing to share this, but also Again, the saying goes, it's reciprocal, like openness to their perspective and openness to their opinion. Openness to their ideas and their knowledge also. So, there could be this limiting of your speech. You limit your speech out of the fear of being wrong. The fear of not being right is huge for you, which keeps you from sharing your knowledge. So you want to face your fears around communication. Really, really face these fears really, really strongly. And there's more than just one answer. There's more than just one truth, one factual answer. There's a bunch of different answers. There's a bunch of different perspectives. There's a bunch of different ways to go about something. There are a bunch of different conclusions that you can reach with a particular topic or a subject matter or whatever. So the more you can be open to all those things, it'll really, really serve you in this life. So, and it's okay to try new things. Like, you don't have to just be told, oh, just focus on this one thing, and then, just stick with this, one thing, and don't worry about anything else. It's not okay to focus on anything else. When it is, like, it's okay to try new things. It's okay to try different things, Saturn and Gemini. And, you are allowed and you are worthy of trying all these different things that you want to try. So, speak with clarity. And it's about working into the skill of being able to teach information in a masterful way. And, through all this work that you're doing with this, you can help others find their voice. You can openly share all the knowledge that you have to give. And you can take all the complicated ideas of the world and simplify them into something that not only you, but the other can understand. So that is all that I have to say on Saturn and Gemini in the natal birth chart. I hope that you found this useful. Tune in for the next episode of the Cosmic Sky podcast, where I'll be talking about I believe I want to talk about, I don't know, it could be maybe certain videos that I did not make into podcast episodes before, or it could be maybe a synastry aspect of Mercury conjunct Saturn and synastry that I want to get to. So I'm tuning for whatever episode I come up with next, or, produce next. So I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.